How's it going? I'm Marvelous Matt Nix, the Purple Poppy, here from Chicago, Illinois, and you are watching Drinking at Moe's.
All right, everybody. Welcome, Drinking at Moe's. Host Big Mo here. Be sure like, subscribe on YouTube. We're on most podcast platforms. Got October filling up pretty quick, but today I got with me pretty damn excited. Matt Nix, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I popped pretty hard for when I saw the name of the show was Drinking at Moe's. I actually just had a flaming Mo the other day.
Yep. No, I saw that. I remember commenting, and I'm freaking jealous.
Yeah, there was a bar in Chicago that does a lot of these different pop-up events, and they dress up the bar. The most recent one they did was like Jurassic Park, and it was super cool. But this one
Ooh,
is like the Treehouse of Horror, Simpsons stuff. So they had a lot of
nice.
uh, Simpsons decor and Simpsons themed drinks and stuff. And
Oh,
me and my lady had to get the Flamin' Mo.
oh, yeah. No, you go to a Simpsons themed thing like that, you got to. I know for me, when the idea of coming up with the name of the show, that did come to mind. But my nickname when I was in the Navy was Big Mo. So I'm like, I wanted to keep it, lighthearted and like you're just having a drink with a friend and drinking at Moe's.
Hey, a lot of people might would kill to drink at Moe's. So it works.
Hey,
It works both ways.
yeah, I've had some relatively big names on so far, in the relatively short lifespan of the show so far. One of my first, like, huge ones that I kind of dropped my phone when I got the confirmation that they were willing to do it was Carrie Silken.
Oh, sick.
That was one of my first big ones, and the SATs had
Oh,
them
really?
on. Yeah, they were the first one I ever did over Zoom.
That's so awesome. That's like so random because like that's not a name, a tag team name that you hear very often these
Yeah.
days. So that's a blast from the past.
Oh yeah. Like they liked a tweet of mine on B-Boy. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I just heard about those guys going up against the Briscoes and the Hardys. I'm might be a reach, but here, let's see if it sticks. That and my other favorite one so far, big name that I'm a huge fan of, Alex Cologne.
Oh, sick.
I actually have signed ring worn kick pads of his now.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I got him. Gonna be a centerpiece of my wrestling collection in the man cave. That's for sure.
Very cool. Very cool.
But one of the first things I usually like to lead off with each guest is what got you started as a fan, and then what got you started, deciding to make the leap into the business.
Well, I mean, growing up, I was always such a huge wrestling fan, as far back as I can remember. Um, I guess if I had to pinpoint it to like a specific time period, would probably be like the mid '90s. And like I was probably about 7, 8 years old and seeing Rey Mysterio Jr. For the first time, and
Mm,
that was kind of just like mind blowing to me, just to see this little dude, super acrobatic,
no.
dressed up in these masks. I distinctively remember. Well, I remember the purple gear that he wore at Halloween Havoc. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
he looks like a Power Ranger, and that was something I was super into at the time. And it just kind of stuck from there, and just wrestling kind of became like an obsession of mine. And um, just doing wrestling, like amateur wrestling growing up, and in high school doing backyard wrestling with me and my buddies, and always just knowing that that was going to be the next step, would be to start training and starting our own path into the world of professional wrestling. And that's kind of what we did. We found a training school, trained with Steve Boz and Willie DeBomb Richardson up at Chicago Style Wrestling in Chicago, um, and found them on an internet forum. And we showed up, and it was at a weird, like, I don't want to say, it's not a truck stop, but like it's like a place where like all the trucks like park, um, for like factories and stuff. It was in the
Okay.
very back end of that, and it was very dark, and we're like, oh, is this the right place? And then we heard like the ring bump, and we're like, okay, I think we're in the right place. And sure enough, it was like a little arena built back there.
Yeah, no, that noise you get from the people taking bumps in the ring is a very distinct. You know when you're hearing it.
Yeah, it was very much like we're creeping into this building, like, oh, is this the right spot? Like, and then we hear boom, and like most people would be like, was that a gunshot? And we knew immediately it was wrestling. I was like, okay, cool, we're in a good spot.
You know, and funny you brought up Power Rangers when I talked about the man cave collection. Random piece in my collection down there. I like collecting wrestling figures and Funkos, and wrestling figures mostly to try to get them autographed. But I did happen to get the chance to go to a Jason David Frank signing, and I got a Green Ranger Funko and got him to autograph it.
Nice, that's pretty sick.
You know,
He's a really nice guy.
oh yeah, he was really nice. Although, I mean, I don't know if it was his decision or the the comic shop's decision was, you could walk up, hand them your item, but to have a picture, yet they had this spot marked about 6 feet away. And I joked with the friend of mine that went with me. I'm like, this feels like that Sasha Banks picture at that comic convention not that long ago, where she's like off to the side, looking all pissed.
Yeah. Yeah, that was here in Chicago, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where I thought I remembered that particular one being.
It was very weird because like they were like definitely, I because my fiance went and got photos with her and Trish. I think she got photos of both of them, and like they were telling everybody in line like you can't touch them, can't like get super close to them. But then naturally when she got up there, and they were just like, oh hey, like, and she pulled her in, and like she grabbed her for the photo, and like as I Sasha did, like
Mm.
she grabbed her for the photo. And I think part of me thinks it was just for like the men, like the creepy wrestling men
Yeah,
that are out there. And I was kind of like,
yeah.
that's kind of funny.
That
But
now that I think about that, that is kind of funny because do see some of those pictures from men going to the meet and greets of the female wrestlers, and they're almost like they wanted to do those classic prom picture poses, like,
super cringe.
oh god, yeah, so cringy, but you can't help it, like, cringe and kind of laugh at the same time. Like, you're the reason why they don't like doing that.
Yeah, like people take advantage of it.
Totally. um One thing, some of the people that listen to my show and watch it might know, some might not. I actually ran into you at, this was like, good Lord, when was it? It was a few years ago. The promotion don't even exist anymore, but over in Fargo, at Fully Loaded Wrestling.
Oh, no shit.
I believe it was like their shows were 2 nights, and it was like a tag team themed weekend, like a tag team turmoil show. And I remember because the first night when I went to ask about the promoters when the show was, I originally was going to be like, hey, if I can just get in early so I can surprise a couple of friends of mine that were on the show, that'd be cool. And then not too long later, they're asking me, well, if you're coming up here, you want to be the special guest ring announcer for their match? So I was like, I get to be in the ring with a microphone?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, hell yeah. And who else? Warhorse and the now Ruby Soho were on the show.
Oh, dang. That was a while back then.
No, yeah. I believe she was by Heidi Loveless, or however they pronounced it at the time.
Yeah.
I hear she didn't really like that particular ring name.
Interesting. I don't know. I figured she might have come up with it herself, but it could have been something that was given to her from her trainer or something.
You know, if I remember right, I think that is the case. But from what I remember hearing, I believe I heard in some sort of podcast or some other interview where she didn't like the name because people kept on pronouncing it wrong or something.
Oh, I think, yeah, people call it Heidi Lovelace.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, that was a particularly fun weekend, and you had some pretty good matches that weekend from what I remember.
Shit. Was that because I think I only wrestled in Fargo once or twice. And I think I wrestled what's his face? Chainsaw King, one of those days.
He was, well, I don't think he's even wrestling anymore.
Yeah, I haven't really seen him active.
I'm wanting to say one, if I remember, because I was looking up doing my homework for the episode. I saw that weekend, and I'm wanting to say one of the other matches involved somebody I actually also had on before I took my little break, Remy Marcel.
Okay.
He does.
Oh,
He was like the Dojo Electric Muscle or something. No, wait.
yeah. That was me and my tag partner.
Okay, that was you guys. Okay. I was trying to remember his team's name.
They were the Whirlwind Gentlemen.
Whirlwind Gentlemen. That was it.
God, I loved those guys. They were awesome.
Oh man, I had a fun talk with him. You know, we talked about that weekend also, and man, there was, I think, one of my favorite matches from that weekend was actually it was the Viking War Party, or it was Warhorse's tag team at the time, and they went up against Eric Cannon and the now Ruby Soho in like a street fight or something.
God damn. That sounds like a pretty good show.
It was. Man.
I used to love going up to North Dakota and like Fargo and Minot was where we used to do a lot of those shows at.
Oh
Those were some of my favorite times.
Oh yeah, Fully Loaded. I think they did most of their North Dakota shows up in Minot area. I think they went to Fargo every now and then. But the Fargo drive was a little more doable, me doing by myself. I remember that because I had to
Yeah,
drive all the way up there.
yeah. The drive to Minot is not easy for any person on this planet.
Oh God, yeah, no, I knew if I was gonna do the Minot drive, I was definitely gonna have to have somebody else with me. I was not gonna be able to do that one by myself.
How many hours is it from you?
Oh boy, I think Fargo was just about. I want to say about 8, but I saw the Minot one was closer to 10 or 12.
Yeah, yeah. That Minot drive from Chicago is 16 hours one way.
Oh, jeez.
But we would leave a lot of times. Those were some of my favorite drives too, because like for one, we would leave in the middle of the night, or at least
Mm.
like 10 o'clock, like local time, and drive through the night because there's no traffic, and we get there. I mean, it's still 16 hours, but we get there pretty quick, and we could sleep in when we get there, and we'd roll in about 7 a.m. or some shit like that, and just
Mm.
sleep till the show starts. But we would be rolling deep. We'd have about four guys in the car, rotating drivers. So
Oh
although
yeah.
one time we went with Mike Hartbauer, and he drove this the entire way.
Oh
He got
jeez.
off he got off work and then was just like, "I'll drive, guys," and then just kept driving. And we were like, "Let us know when you get tired." And he's like, "Okay," and he just never did, and he never stopped. It was
You know,
insane.
I've actually been talking with him about coming on the show, but the date that he got back to me on, like a couple dates that he could do, one was a, I had actually finalized the dates for 2 other people for those dates. One of them was a guy that was the other half of the duo that ran my very first ever independent wrestling show in San Diego, who I'm excited to talk to him again. The other was former Ring of Honor 6-man tag champ Dutch.
Okay,
Pretty excited about that one. I was supposed to talk to him a while back, but it, well, let's just say a family event happened
fair enough.
and, and caused a bit of a delay, and I decided to take a little bit of a break after that. But yeah, no, I'm hoping it'll work out for getting him on. One thing I was also noticing when doing my homework for the episode, it seemed like it was about 2017 through 2019 were kind of busy years for you. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
there was some of the promotions I saw. There were Evolve, Black Label Pro, CZW, and one that was kind of near and dear to my Southern California self,
Excuse me.
Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I
Ah,
saw
yes.
a whole bunch of matches throughout all those. It was like nice.
I used to love going for those tapings because, for one, get to go to California, which
Oh
is
yeah,
for living in the Midwest, and especially during the winter, going to sunny California is not a bad time.
yeah, not a
And
bad gig at all.
and a lot of the people at Championship Wrestling for Hollywood were like some of the smartest people I ever met in wrestling, and
Mm,
I got to meet and become friends with like Yuma,
mm.
Peter Avalon, and Dave Marquez, who's just like one of the smartest people I've ever met in wrestling, and
Oh
getting a
yeah,
chance to kind of see how the production side of wrestling, like TV wrestling, is really done,
yeah.
and it was really cool to see like behind the scenes and like just be involved in that, and it was kind of like cool to see like people that I knew
Mm.
elsewhere that would actually watch the program that I didn't know that
Mm.
watched the program, and they would be like, "Oh, hey, I saw you on Hollywood," and I'm like, "Oh, that's sick," because I don't know, I have no way of watching it here, so I would have to like pull it up on Fight to watch it, and I was like, "Oh, that's sick that like you guys watch it like on TV and stuff. Like it's a real program. It's awesome."
Yeah. No, I actually got to see a couple of those guys wrestle quite often when I was in San Diego. Yuma and Peter Avalon were seemed to be all over the place when I was down there, and the very entertaining, the both of them. I don't think Peter Avalon gets enough credit for that on like a national scale, because I mean, yeah, he's been on AEW, but it doesn't seem like they really ever got to highlight how entertaining he could be.
No, I think he is criminally underutilized there. And I mean, I get it. Like, there's only so many spots and so many things that people can do,
Yeah.
but he's a person that like you plug him into any role that he's doing on those shows, and he is just he makes that role the best thing on the show, or the best thing that he can make it. And
He,
he's super entertaining and a hell of a talent in the ring.
oh yeah, totally. And hopefully he'll get to show that on a big scale sometime soon.
I hope so, and I think so too. I think they are starting to use him a lot more.
Oh yeah. No, I've been seeing him be, I can definitely say that. I see it a little bit more here and there. Um, Another promotion that I've seen throughout uh, my homework for the episode, and who you're actually going to be on a show for them coming up here, my friends at Warrior Wrestling.
Yeah, this Sunday.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about that. I actually get to talk to Steve with them here in a couple days to do a little bit of a preview show for that one. And I'm kind of glad to see them getting back in the swing of things after as they put it to me shortly after they started that little bit of a recalibration.
Yeah, no, sometimes that's what you need to do. Just take a break, come back stronger than ever.
Oh yeah, they put on consistently good shows. And I mean, they had a little bit of a hiccup with this show with that originally scheduled match with the Lucha Brothers, the Briscoes. That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
But I still think that they were able to substitute some pretty great matches and still have those ones on the card. Like the Briscoes versus the Rascals is going to be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard some people complain about the replacement opponent in the match for the Lucha Brothers with Brian Cage and Gringo Loco, but it's like, and I'm going to actually talk to Steve about this one. That match, I think Brian Cage, I liken him with some big men from the past, like Bam Bam Bigelow pops to mind, of like the big guy that
Very
can pull,
agile.
a very agile big guy. I think Brian Cage fits right along there. And Gringo Loco, I've ran into him a couple times, including out at Wrestling Revolver the other weekend. Dude, that guy, he's amazing. That's about all I could say there. So I
Oh
still
yeah,
think
no, he's
that match in particular is going to be a very underrated one because people were, I guess, still upset with not getting the Briscoes versus the Lucha Brothers.
Yeah, no, I understand the frustration as a fan, like to be like, oh, like what we could have had, but like what you will get will be just as good, if not potentially better.
Oh yeah, no, and I mean your match, you get, believe it was is it Luigi Primo? I'm forgetting the last part of that.
Yeah, no, it's his name is Luigi Primo.
Yeah, and I mean you see him recently popping up everywhere. I mean, even getting that little spot on AEW that people seem to be complaining about, but it's like, is he entertaining people? Is he getting over with crowds where he's going? Then what's the freaking issue?
It's because people like to gatekeep wrestling and what should be in wrestling, and they should just remember that it is literally about entertaining the crowd and the audience, and it's a show. And yes, like you can be a big tough guy wrestler and be the most popular guy on the show, but you could also be a pizza maker and still like be a part of the show.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you completely. Um, Another promotion you are very much tied to, and I first heard about it from a couple friends of mine who I will bring their names up in a little bit. Freelance wrestling. And it seems to be like that is at least definitely in the Midwest, like very destination pro wrestling as far like independent wrestling is. I keep on hearing people all over wanting to be at Freelance.
Well, that's nice of you to say. I mean, we try really hard to like to give a unique and like entertaining experience every single time somebody comes to one of our shows, or it's it's just a very special atmosphere because like I always tell people like we can run a show anywhere, but it won't be a freelance show unless it's in Chicago because the energy from the crowd, like most of the way our audience grew is most of our crowd that showed up weren't even wrestling fans. They were just people that were out drinking and were like, oh, let's go see wrestling. And then maybe they were like lapsed fans, like they were fans of back in the day, and they're like, oh, this reminds me of like my childhood. Um and a lot of these people, they show up and I'm like, they're not even like fans of wrestling, but they're fans of freelance, which is pretty cool. And then those people tell their friends, and their friends that are wrestling fans, and we have a nice like eclectic group of people, and a mixture of like fans and just casuals, and everyone's there just to drink and have a good time.
No, that's and that like I said, every the bits that I've been able to see, because I mean I'm in Omaha, so I only get to see, when stuff gets put either on Fight or YouTube or for a lot of promotions, but everything I've seen Freelance, I'm like, dang, if I ever get out to Chicago, I want to try to see if I can make it around a Freelance show day.
You definitely should.
No, it's definitely something I will be looking into because I mean, another promotion that you've had at least, I think, just the one match on, but AEW seems to come to Chicago a lot. So it's like, hey, if I've always wanted to go to one of their shows, so it's like maybe if it works out one of these times, I can just fit in both during a trip.
Yeah, if the stars align.
But I have two categories that I like to go with. One is a bit of a name game. I go through when doing my homework and try to pick wrestlers that you've shared the ring with in one way or another, whether it be teaming with them or being an opponent of the person, and you give me your thoughts on them.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh yeah, I've had some pretty good ones, and some guests I've had, they didn't really expect me to pull up these certain people because they're like, holy crap, almost forgot about that one. But first one from AEW, Cody.
Oh man. Just about him specifically, or that match, or like
Maybe a little
or
both.
both. Well, I had met Cody a couple times, just with because I work at Pro Wrestling Tees as well. So like when the whole launching of AEW was happening, and even like with All In, um, like we were very involved with a lot of that stuff, and they were always there. Like the Bullet Club or the Elite, um, they were always at the shop whenever they were in town. So we kind of knew each other that way. He knew I was one of Ryan's guys. Um, but so that day I was there, I had got hired to do like extra work as most independent wrestlers do, and as most independent wrestlers assume, you get there and you're just hanging out and eating catering, not really doing much. But then they came around, they were like, "Oh, like we need someone to wrestle Cody tonight. Nick, you're gonna wrestle Cody. Is that okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, totally, sure." Like thinking they were just messing with me. And then they were just like, "No, no, you're actually gonna wrestle him." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And it was like just super easy stuff. Like it's his big return, so obviously I get no offense in it. I'm like, yeah, totally. Like, and so we did our planned our little thing out. You know, he was like, "Thank you so much for doing this," and I'm like, "Fucker, why are you?" Can I swear on this?
Oh yeah, I don't. Literally, me being a Navy veteran, we use cuss words like it's just like punctuation in a sentence. So
That like the phrase "you curse like a sailor."
yes, I'm pretty much an embodiment of that.
Well, I'm just like, uh, I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, why are you thanking me for one? Like, this is your fucking show. But then so we go out, and I wasn't like nervous at all because like, you know, I was not to sound like I'm a braggy person or anything, but like I know what I'm doing most of the time. And especially there was like such little planning into this that there was very little margin for error for me to like fuck anything up. So I was like, cool, I got this. So like during commercial break, they sneak me down the ramp, and I'm like hanging out in ringside, and then his entrance comes on when they come back from commercial, and it's like big pyro and everything, and I could feel the flames, the heat from the pyro all the way down by the ring, and I was like, that's when the nerves hit it, and I was like, oh shit, this is real. And it was really cool that like when we started the match and we started circling around, there actually was a freelance wrestling chant that broke out during the beginning part of that match, and you can hear it on the broadcast.
I was
There's a
gonna
bunch of videos. What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say I thought I remembered when I watched that match hearing that.
And that was surreal in its own moment. But like we're circling, and that chant is happening, and he actually stops, and he kind of goes like a look around, and then he like looks at me and smirks, and I was like, oh shit! Like I thought I was in trouble for some reason. But we did the match like super easy, and then came back, and you know I'm thanking everybody that I could find. I'm like, thank you so much. Um, and then we're talking afterwards, and he's just like, oh, he's like, freelance is pretty over in Chicago, huh? And I'm like, yeah, I guess so. It was very crazy, and you know, a lot of people tell me how proud I should be about that, and I am. I'm definitely am. And I'm like, listen, if I never do anything in my career ever again, like, or just anything of note, at least that moment happened for me, and like, that's so cool. Like, I'll never forget that.
Oh yeah, no, getting a moment like that where something you put a lot of your work into ends up. Oh, here's one of my dogs wanting to say hi.
Oh,
A young Great Dane my wife and I rescued.
he's cute. What's his name?
Forrest.
Forrest.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There you go. You can lay down.
He's like,
Anybody?
this is where I'm.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Um,
Yeah. He loves me for some reason. But like I was saying, something that you put so much work into, getting a moment like that on a national scale is something that, I mean, you'll always have. So it's pretty awesome.
yeah, I think so. It was nice for my parents to brag about that to my family too.
Oh, I can imagine. Uh, Next name on the list, who, I mean, also synonymous with AEW right now, but this was in Black Label Pro. Okay. MJF.
Uh, I love Max. Like he's really nice. Well, he's very nice when you're not facing him, I guess. I got to keep up his gimmick. But no, I remember doing a lot of stuff with him. I remember that battle royal that we were in at Black Label, and he was just like freaking out because he had to plan like everything. And we were all just like, it's a battle royal. Don't even worry about it. And he was like, no, it's got to be perfect. And he was just like freaking out. But like, it's awesome to see how far I mean, everybody knew back then that he was going to be a superstar. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah.
literally had the look. He had the look. He had the charisma. He was already probably more talented at wrestling than I was at that point. And look at him now. Like, he's literally the most important person in wrestling, I would argue, at this point.
It would be hard to argue against that. Like, literally, ever since he came back, it's like that's all a lot of people can seem to talk about is, when is he going to cash in that chip? When is he going to cash in that chip? When is he going to finally get that AEW title?
I think it's coming soon. It's gotta.
Oh, yeah. No, with the way that they've built that up, I think a lot of people would be incredibly disappointed if he didn't at least get somewhat of a run with that title very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Next names on the list is these for a tag team, very close personal friends of mine who mostly local people around here will know, but they've also been to Freelance. Duke Cornell and Bogot.
Yes, Guns and Beer.
Yes.
I love those guys. Like, literally, you talk about like people in wrestling. Sometimes like there's not a lot of people that you like genuinely like. There's just people that you're like friendly with, and there's people that are kind of like whatever. There's very few people that you're just like you just bond with so well, and like we really bonded with those guys. Like at going to those Fully Loaded shows, and I would even argue that some of my best matches were against those guys. So very happy to have met them, and I hope they're doing well. I haven't seen or talked to them in a while.
I ran into Duke about a week ago tomorrow at a show here in Omaha, and ran into Bo that Saturday, this last Saturday, at another show, and he knows this, that I think this about him. He's like a brother to me, but he's told me about always wanting a no rope barbed wire death match. I'm like, you're fucking crazy. But funny thing about that is, next month here in Omaha at Magnum Wrestling, he's getting that.
Good for him.
He's getting that against the Carver.
Oh, nice. I like the Carver.
Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be insane. I plan on getting my that show here. I get my VA money in on should be Friday, so I'm planning on getting my damn ticket, my normal seat right up front because, well, for one, I've never seen a no rope barbed wire match, but like one of my best friends is in it, so I gotta freaking be there.
You have to. You got to be front and center, and you got to tell him that I said hello when you see him.
I definitely will. There's even been, well, I'll talk about this off camera because I don't know if I want to spill the beans on it yet. But anyways, next one on the list, Ethan Page.
Love Ethan Page. Again, one of those people that they always say like you have very few actual friends in wrestling, like a lot of acquaintances.
Yeah.
But I would definitely consider him like an actual friend. He's always been super good to me, super nice. He's very smart, and he's always willing to share that knowledge with anybody who's willing to listen and be respectful. And I hope that I've been respectful to him. But no, he's a great guy and a super talented wrestler and entertainer. And I'm glad that he's finally getting those opportunities in a national spotlight.
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you there. And he's on my list of ones I want to meet. And I mean, I'd love to have him on the show at some point, but I'd love to meet him to also be on. I want to be on one of his toy hunt vlogs.
Ah, yes, the toy hunt vlogs. They're very popular.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I've got my little collections, the Funkos, the wrestling figures. I'm even trying to rebuild up my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle collection because over the years, stuff getting left at my parents' house and probably sold off at a garage sale. So I got to rebuild it a little bit. But to be able to do that and hunt for some of those things on one of his vlogs, I don't know. I think it would be pretty damn fun.
It sounds like, yeah, it would definitely be a lot of fun.
And last name on this category, who's also been on his toy hunt vlogs quite frequently, and who also with his own vlog I've seen pop up there at Pro Wrestling Tees, and even seen you, Danhausen.
Yes, Danhausen.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'm so happy he is doing what he's doing on TV because I have always been such a big fan of his character, and like I think it's the funniest shit ever. And like the fact that it pisses people off too makes it even funnier. But like, I mean, he's a great dude, and I'm happy he's doing what he's doing.
Oh yeah, no, I for one get a kick out of it. One of my favorite videos of his was actually recently with the PWI 500. This was like a year or two ago. They did one where he thought he was going to be number one. It must be number one. And he's going flipping through, and there's John Moxley on number one. He's like, and then he goes flipping through, and he's like 138. He's like, number one, number three, and number eight. And then it's all just afterwards, he's all pissed off and like, it's just bleep, 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 bleep. And how he's like cursing on his channel, and then it's just bleep, 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 bleep.
He just lost it.
Oh yeah, he lost it, and it was hilarious. Next category, and my last category for the evening, is kind of a random question round. I used to call it a speed round, but I mean, to be quite honest, it never went that quick, so I figured a name change was due. But some of the questions wrestling related, some of them not. You answer how you see fit. First one, best and worst part about running shows.
Best part about running shows is seeing the final product and seeing the crowd reaction to shit that you're like, oh, like they're gonna like really like this, and or this is gonna piss them off, and like seeing it play out like from your brain onto a piece of paper out into the crowd is pretty cool. It's really special too, and it's like a big moment.
Oh, yeah.
The worst part about running shows is just everything. Dealing with all the bullshit it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but when you have a good team around you, it makes it a lot easier.
Oh, I can totally imagine when you have people you can count on, that good team with you always makes everything easier.
Oh yeah.
Next one, everybody has, hobbies and shit outside of, their shoot jobs or outside of wrestling even. What are some of your hobbies?
That's a good question because I kind of took up, I guess. So I've always been like a big sports fan, like my whole life. But once I got into wrestling, I didn't really have a lot of time for much else outside of wrestling. So I was more of a casual follower of the teams that I support, mostly Chicago teams, obviously. But last year, I kind of took a couple months hiatus from like all of wrestling, and I got really back into following baseball, and I went to like got probably near 20 games during the summer, and that kind of carried over this year, and I've kind of like learned to balance my wrestling life and outside of wrestling life a little bit better, and make time for things that I actually care about, which for me currently is just, watching baseball, football, hanging out with my fiance and my dog, and going out and finding new restaurants in the city of Chicago that we just want to go check out. Like that's literally all I care about.
That's awesome. I when I was stationed down in San Diego, I would always frequent the Padres games down there. I've been a lifelong fan of them. Weird, me being from Nebraska, being a fan of them. I have, but I've been there ever since the days of like Tony Gwynn and Trevor Hoffman. Tony Gwynn, my favorite baseball player ever.
That's pretty sick. That's a throwback name.
Oh gosh, yeah. Like I never got to meet him, but some of the games that I went to when I was in San Diego, he was actually doing like the commentary for one of the TV stations for the Padres games. And, sometimes I'd see him out on the field for different stuff for that. I'm like, oh,
didn't know this microphone.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could get a little bit closer. But yeah, I hadn't up until recently. And one reason why I love my damn wife is she knows things that I'm really into. And one of them being Padres. I hadn't been to a game since I left San Diego back in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Out here, unless they're playing like Kansas City, or maybe if I'm ever able to get out to Chicago, but I mean, Kansas City is a rarity, but they happen late in the season here. to play a series in Kansas City. And without my wife knowing, she got tickets pretty up close. And it kind of fooled me by saying that we were going to go to brunch. And then when we didn't make the turn that we would have needed to take, she's like, open the glove box. And I'm like, there was a Padres shirt in there. I'm like, wait a damn minute. So
she got you good.
Oh, she got me good. She's done that a few times. She did that with SmackDown tickets one time earlier this year when they came to Omaha. I had thought about getting tickets, but I'm like, I can't justify the expense right now. And then I'm literally driving on my way home from work. I get this Ticketmaster alert, this text, and it's a Ticketmaster. I'm like, what the fuck? I open it and I'm like, wait a minute. And
Did
then
I accidentally buy the tickets?
Yeah, and then I texted my wife. I'm like, what's this? And then she said, you're going to SmackDown. I'm like, no way.
That's so nice.
Oh man. And she even, like, bless her, she's not a fan of wrestling per se, but she knows that I love it. But if she at all can, she'll try to see if in like those situations, if she can find somebody to go with me.
That's fair.
And
I know how that goes.
She found one of my friends that is also a huge wrestling fan, that right when she bought tickets, she's like, hey, would you be able to go with them?
That's very nice of her. Very considerate.
Oh yeah, no. And I've told her, best damn thing that's ever happened to me. Anyways, next one and I'm sure there's maybe more than one, but craziest in-match moment.
Ooh. Craziest one, the craziest one that comes to mind was me tagging with my tag partner Kenny Sutra, the Dojo Electric Muscle, and we were wrestling Reed Bentley and John Wayne Murdoch at a underground show in Chicago.
Ooh.
And the arena that the show was in was like very narrow, so like on either side of the ring there was only room for one row of chairs, and then there's the wall, and there was guardrails set up too, so very tight space on the sides of those, on the two sides of the ring. There was a spot towards the end of the match where my partner was supposed to get up and over to the outside. Oh no, sorry, he was in the powerbomb position. He was up in the powerbomb, and he was supposed to wiggle back to the ropes and like fall forward and like put someone into the tarantula hold.
Oh.
So he goes and does that, and he fucking just flips out over the ring to the outside.
Oh.
And he lands like chin first on the guardrail.
Ow.
And his knees landed on the apron. That's how close it was. So he just like lands super hard, like, and it looks like he just gets bent in half. And I'm laying on the mat like selling, and I look and I see this happen, and I look at Reed Bentley in the ring, and I just go, holy shit, we got to go home. We got to take it home. And he ended up being totally fine, but we were all like, holy shit, he just died. Like, we thought he just died right then and there.
Oh no, that I can imagine. I mean, I've seen some shows at different places where it's like definitely very much like that, two sides of the ring at least, very narrow spacing between the wall, like maybe one row of chairs at the most, I think seen them a lot on IWTV from the TWE arena, the Chattanooga. They seem to there's like that one side where it's like it's either one row of chairs or it's just people standing. Yeah. No, God dang, man. My chin kind of hurts just listening to that. Next one. Must have for road trips, different snacks or whatever.
Must have. For me, I'm a big nut guy. So like depending on where we stop, I mean, I'll always grab like almonds, but like if we stopped at a big gas station that had like a whole wide variety, and I bought this giant like container of walnuts that were like already like cracked and everything, so it was just like the meat from the inside of the walnuts. And I love walnuts, but after eating so much walnuts on a road trip, I was like, I am sick of walnuts. I'm a big nut guy, but also I guess like junk food. I don't know, because like I usually try not to eat too shitty on the road because it's the last place you want to have a stomach ache is not in the car.
Yeah.
But maybe like combos. Combos are pretty good.
Oh yes.
Or bugles. I'm a big bugle guy.
Been a while since I had me some of those. You talk about nuts. Have you had those different flavors of the Blue Diamond almonds?
Yeah, like the smoky ones are really good.
One of my favorites is the habanero barbecue.
Oh, I haven't tried those yet.
That's a good one. That or there's two other flavors of those that I like: the sriracha or the spicy dill pickle. Those are another.
Oh, I'll have to be on the lookout for that because I love pickle flavored things.
Oh yeah. Oh man. I go to the different grocery stores around and I'll see these, well, somewhat big cans of them, but they're cans of the different flavors. I got a can of the ghost pepper ones at my desk at work right now.
Ghost pepper's too intense.
Yeah, it might take me a little bit to get through those because I start popping a handful of those and it's like, okay, I need a drink. But next and actually last question. Best advice for anybody getting into wrestling?
The best advice that I could give is never be afraid to ask questions. And the one thing that was always told to me, and probably told to a million people in wrestling, is they say ears open, mouth shut. And so just kind of like absorb any amount of information that you can, and then use that information to your discretion. Like I always tell the kids at the school, like if somebody gives you advice for you in wrestling, and maybe advice in a match or whatever, no matter who it is, be respectful, listen to their input, and because it might not apply to you right now, but like down the road, you might think back and be like, oh, I remember so and so said something about this, and then it clicks. It's not all going to make sense to you right away, but it'll make sense to you at some point.
Both very wise answers. Like you said, don't be afraid to ask questions because I mean, it goes back to you never know if you don't ask.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lost kind of how many times I've asked people this question, and one of the answers they give is always eyes and ears open, mouth shut.
It's an easy one, and it's a cliche, but it applies. People say it for a reason because it is good advice.
Oh, and heck, it can be good advice for just about anywhere. You're just starting out at a a job or you got like you're really wanting to get into something, you know, talking to people that are already there. Keep your eyes and ears open, mouth shut, unless you're asking a genuine question about, hey, how do I do this?
That and don't be afraid to have fun. That's the most important thing.
Well, because if you're not having fun doing it, then why the hell are you even doing it?
Exactly.
Anyways, that is about all I have for tonight. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight, and also want to give you a chance, plug your social medias or any events you got coming up. We can get the link descriptions and all that.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for having me on. I know we've played a little bit of phone tag trying to set this up, but I'm glad we made it work. This is a lot of fun. Oh God, I'm so bad at plugging. Well, I have this coming Friday. I will be in Kansas City, Kansas for Journey Pro Wrestling. Taking on Christian Rose for the Journey Pro Championship. I'm gonna bring it back home here to Chicago.
Ooh, that is gonna be a good one.
This coming Sunday, October 2nd, I am wrestling Luigi Primo at Warrior Wrestling in the Chicagoland area. Beyond that, I have a couple dates coming up. I am scheduled to finally get my hands on Trevor Outlaw at Freelance Wrestling on October 21st, right here in Logan Square. And if you're not able to be there live, you can watch it live on IWTV and watch me beat the shit out of that little asshole.
Yes.
My social media, my social medias are at the Matt Knicks, TheMattKnicks. It's the same for Twitter and Instagram. I have a YouTube channel. You can look at stuff on there. It's My Violet Tendencies on YouTube. Is also the name of the podcast that I occasionally put out. Very interesting, weird conversations with some people that I know. I don't do it very consistently, but when I do, I feel like we put out pretty good content. So check that out. It's available anywhere that you get your podcasts.
I've actually episodes. I've actually listened to a few episodes.
Really? Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm never sure if people actually do end up listening, but I'm like, I enjoyed doing it, so screw it.
Same way I'm with mine. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know who actually watching this, but I enjoy doing it, so why not?
Exactly. And then Freelance Wrestling, right here in Chicago, freelancewrestling.com for any information. At Freelance Res, WRES is the Twitter. We do shows every month in Chicago. You can watch them live on IWTV. There's a lot of great content on YouTube, like you said before. And if you live in the Chicagoland area and you want to train to become a professional wrestler, we do have a wrestling academy that we have. It's the Freelance Wrestling Academy. If you want to sign up and train with us, just shoot us an email at freelancewrestlingacademy@gmail.com and we'll get the ball rolling for you.
All righty. We'll get links to all those in the description. But like I said, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me tonight.
Thank you so much for having me. Hope your ankle's okay.
Oh yeah, I'll be fine.